Hello there guys, welcome back to the broadcast on this 8th day of the month 2024. Welcome back to Peter Mwema Media. Of course, we are doing in conjunction with Mahanaim College. We are coming to you live from Mahanaim College, and this program is sponsored by Spin Graphic Creation as well, a gentleman who is trying to make very nice posters, so you can check his link on the description below. And as well, do welcome you to this discussion where we just want to try to understand what happened in the weekend, and of course some days after that in regards to the political space. On the front pages of the dailies, we have the Star talking about how the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, complaining about Madira MP, who is unhallowed to the fight against the breweries. Of course, at the Nation, the front page, inside MPs plot to grab state tenders, and of course President Ruto's speech on X Space, as well as Ruto faces dilemma on the cabinet. And welcoming my guest in this broadcast, the Honorable Donald Wanyoike, because he was given that title on the last production. He is alone today. It's one person on the bench today. So welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and maybe just to start off the discussion from where we had left and from what happened during the last conversation, is that the president was ready to meet up the Genz on X, and true to his word, he didn't meet the Genz last week on Friday. What's your take from the conversation, owing to the fact that the former president, the President Emeritus, His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, he disregarded discussions on social media, and he actually said he no longer participates on social media? But you have seen the current president honoring the presence of online media, social media, and engaging the young people on Express. What is your take from that?
Well, my take on that is very simple. I applaud the move His Excellency the President made to have a chat with the youth on X. But again, as you all know, the president is the president, and why am I saying that? He honored the talks, but will anything come out from the talks that he had with the youth? That's the bigger question. Earlier on a podcast, I said the president will not listen, and it's very evident. He pretends like he is listening, but he isn't. And the youth were very vocal, and the youth were not, they were serious. They were serious with the conversation that they had with him.
Right.
One of the youth actually disregarded the presidency title and His Excellency, and he went ahead and called the president Baba Shalin.
Yeah.
You can see the amount of anger that's within the youth, because they also know that the president is doing this for damage control, I can say that, to try and seem like he's containing or controlling the situation. But there was no fruitful talks. Because they posed very risky questions to him. Why am I saying risky? These are some of the questions that he needed to use intelligence to answer, and on my take, he failed. He failed to answer them. Yeah.
So yeah, and we will get into actually the actual conversation on the Express. But before we get that, yesterday we did see a large congregation of people honoring the fallen comrades who have been met their untimely death because of the bullets and because of the brutality from the police, which the president has defended, that they were doing their best to contain the situation. We saw a huge number of people turning out at Uhuru Park yesterday, and this sort of Gen Z protest continues even on this week. So should this continue? And going back to the Twitter space, is the president having a deaf ears? Because when you see a large number of crowds like that turning out, and initially it was like the politicians who are calling the shots, should this be a strong message to the president?
Definitely this should be a strong message to the president. And I, for one, advocate for the protest to continue. And why will I say that? It took us to the streets to protest so that our voices can be heard. If we never went to the streets to protest, then everyone, the president, the politicians, they all would have turned a deaf ear. Public participation is just a matter of formality, I can say that. When they want to pass something, they'll always say we need public participation. That is for formality, and that is just to show the people that they are engaged with the government while they're not. So the protests should go on, the protests must go on, so that our voices can be heard. It is very sad to see how many people have died during these recent protests, and the youth, again, I applaud what they did yesterday. It was it was like a memorial for those who are died, and it's good. They need to be remembered.
Yeah.
And a strong message to these politicians is that there is nothing they've done. The president didn't even give a word of condolence to the family.
Yeah.
Maybe he just did it for formality, but an in-depth one of which he means it, he didn't. If he's still applauding the police brutality till now, then that should show you that his words mean nothing at all.
He defended the police, and coming back to even yesterday's protest, we didn't see a lot of gangsters, tear gas lobbed at the congregants, as opposed to what has been happening previously. Maybe what could you think happened yesterday differently that led police to... Even I saw a video that the police were actually distributing food to the protesters and it was peaceful. What do you think happened yesterday that has not been happening on previous protests?
As I've said, that's called damage control. It's His Excellency the President just trying to play mind games with the people. He will never listen, and that is something I'll keep on saying. Whatever he's doing now, he's just trying to contain the situation, because if the demonstrations keep on going, then definitely he will have to step down one of these 5 days. And I don't think that's something he has in his repertoire to like really step down. So if the police are distributing food, then it's something that the same police that are distributing food are the same police that are killing these people a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that should show us a lot of things. And as you said, the police were not lobbing tear gases yesterday, and neither were their goons. That should just show you that the goons that were there were government sponsored. We all know how this thing goes, just to show that protesters are not peaceful in order to end the protests. But unbeknownst to them, the protest will still continue.
Right, and wow, interesting. One of the products of the protest is now the president said, I listened to you and there are measures. Before he addressed Kenyans on the Express, he actually didn't come up with some measures to put down the pressure, the so-called austerity measures, cutting down on 47 state departments, disregarding the office of the First Lady and the Second Lady, the budgets that are allocated to them, and advocating for early retirement if you are past 60 years and above. And Kenyans were waiting to see whether some of the austerity measures will be implemented, of course cutting down on the expenditure. People arguing out, the president of the judiciary, the Lady Justice Mother Koome, 64 years, and same as Masika Mwetangulo, who is the Speaker of the National Assembly, and many other public servants who have superseded 60 years. Do you think some of these measures that the president outlined in the measure to curb the expenditure will be implemented as part of responding to the protests?
Knowing the president's administration and the recent government and its work that they have been doing, I am just going to be very honest with the people of Kenya that nothing is going to be done. And I'm saying it again, damage control. This is what they're just trying to do to ease the tension. And I believe we need to see these austerity measures taking place. For example, if the CJ, Martha Koome, and Moses Wetangula, if they have preceded the years that they need to be in office, we need to see them step down. The minute they step down, and others who have superseded these years, and they step down, that's when we're going to say, yes, now we have seen something. We have seen something. But my question is, will they be able to step down? I don't think so, really. I don't think so, really.
Yeah, and you see, the issue of the First Lady and the Second Lady being allocated to budget, it was actually considered unconstitutional. So it's like introducing a problem and just solving it by removing it. People were saying, this is not even part of the things we want you to address. That was a non-issue. We have a lot of offices which are, you know, not constitutional, like for example the CSS position, which if the court did not intervene, the president could have gone ahead to appoint them in offices. And people argue out that the problem is actually not even the taxing. Kenyans are ready to pay taxes. It's only that the money that they give to the government, they have seen a lot of opulence, they have seen a lot of they have seen a lot of extravagance in government. to the extent that the government is actually banning Arambis and church donations, and people are asking, was this part of this money they are donating part of what they are supposed to be donating, or it is from their own personal pocket? And there was that issue of, it's not about the paying tax. The problem is expenditure. What is your angle on that?
The problem, yes, it is expenditure. And another problem again, it's overtaxation. The finance bill was actually an overtaxation. As we said earlier on, the problem has never been paying tax. When this government came into power, it found people paying taxes,
right,
and everyone agrees to pay taxes. It is a mandate to pay those taxes. But once you want to start getting deeper into our pockets, that's where we start to question it. And I would rather be, I don't want to be skeptical on this, but it would have been better if they're digging deeper into our pockets and we're seeing developments. His Excellency was actually told to address the issues of youth being unemployed.
Right.
And the first thing he said was the housing levy has given youths jobs. Okay, the question is, will all youths work in construction site? Will all youths fit into that criteria of they need to work in this housing levy program? And to him, that is giving the youth jobs. That's according to him. And he says he has allocated, I don't know how many billion, the Tumetenga theory, and yet youth are languishing in poverty. There is no jobs. There is no nothing. The expenditure this government is using, that's what is too much.
Yeah.
And these church donations, this harambes, it's actually the taxpayers' money. It's not from their own pockets. They have so many big allowances. They have so many big salaries that to them, our money is what is of use to them.
Yeah.
Theirs is just for, to keep the wealth.
Yeah, because we saw that from the SRC Commission, the President is allocated 350,000 housing allowance, as well as the Deputy President, who is allocated 300,000 housing allowance. And people could argue the official residence of the President is the State House, as well as the official residence of the Deputy President is the office in Karen. He has a residence in Karen, and fully paid by the taxpayer, and there is no need for such allowances. And Kenyans who are saying these actually are part of the things that the government ought to address. And coming to the part of the expenditure, I want just to give you a quick scan of the cabinet, because the President himself has indicated in public that maybe I could have done better, right? And even my cabinet, the way it looks, some of them have failed. In fact, it's in public domain. He came out and said, I know better information than some of the ministers in their ministries. And a quick scan of the cabinet. Of course, we have the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who is also the Cabinet for Foreign Affairs. Musalia Mudavadi. People argue, why should you have two dockets and you're getting two salaries? I mean, does it make sense? The Interior CS, that is Abraham Githuru Kindike. National Treasury, Professor Ndumu. Gender, Culture and Arts, that is Haisha Jumwa. The Defense Cabinet Secretary, Aden Duale, Alice Wame, who is the Minister for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. The Honorable Alfred Mutua is the Minister for Cabinet Secretary, for Tourism and Wildlife. Moses Kuria, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service. Rebecca Miano, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industry. Onespaski Mchumba Murkomen, who is the Minister for Roads and Transport, and of course Rosalinda Soipan Tuya, who is Environment and Forestry Cabinet Secretary. Zakaria Mwanga is the is the Cabinet Secretary for Water and Sanitation, as well as Pedina Malonza, who is the East African Community and Regional Development. Medika Linturi is the Minister for Agriculture and Livestock. Ezekiel Machogu is the Cabinet Secretary for Education, as well as Davis Chilchil, who is the Minister for Cabinet Secretary. I keep on saying Minister, I mean amended by the Constitution. Cabinet Secretary, CS for Energy and Petroleum. Abamna Mamba is the CS for Youth and Sports. Simon Chelugui is the CS for Cooperative, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Salim Mvuria is the CS for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs. Labor and Social Protection is headed by CS Flores Bore. Eliud Oalo is the CS for Information, Communication and Digital Economy. Susan Nakumicha Wafuda is the CS for Health. Justin Bida Muturi is part of the cabinet, but is the Attorney General, as well as Mercy Kiru is the Secretary to the cabinet, who actually graced us in Mahanaim College yesterday. But somebody will argue that's quite a long list of cabinet secretaries, and these people, they draw such huge salaries, and there's been cabinet reshuffle. First of all, do you believe we need all these cabinet secretaries, and have we seen their impact in the Kenyan economy?
I believe we do need a reshuffle. That I do strongly agree. Because if you ask me, this CS is all a field. It's good to give credit where it's due. Some are really putting the effort out there, and it's good to see. And the majority now are the ones who are failing. Let's take an example of Moses Kuria.
Right.
Moses Kuria is not someone you need to talk to about much. You already know. Moses Kuria, actually, that was not his first docket.
Yeah,
he had another
trade.
Docket. Yeah, trade.
Yes.
Then there were terms he used. Even the president himself told him,
yeah,
you know what, you shouldn't be doing that. How
Turn
about
down.
we shift you? Yeah.
Yes.
How about we shift you?
Yeah.
And let's look at Mythical Inturi.
Yeah.
We had the fertilizer saga.
Right.
How do you put stones in fertilizers and distribute them to farmers, yet you're still a cabinet secretary even now? Even now. That should show you the opulence and the corruption that is within the government, surrounding the government. And if we don't reshuffle these people and cut down some of these dockets, because I believe some of these dockets can be handled, internally without having a cabinet secretary.
Right.
I believe this is what I'd call campaign promises, whereby he lured people in and told them, campaign for me and then I'll give you similar dockets. And I can even introduce them. We've seen the president introducing new dockets. And I believe that is a very long list of CSs who are absolutely doing nothing. So we need to cut that down and then reshuffle. We also need to weigh the options on who has had the better impact and how good can he be if we put him in this similar docket. So I believe we should remove some dockets and then reshuffle it all at once.
Yeah, because actually there were sentiments even by the young people, the Gen Z, were saying we need the president to dissolve the whole cabinet. Because some of, if like you've put it, we have a significant number of cabinet secretaries whom Kenyans have not even heard from. It's the likes of Lawrence Ball, Salim Mvurya, the likes of, I could just mention a few, Penina Malonza, Soipan Tuya, Zakaria Mwangi. There are some of actually, I knew they are CS, but I didn't know that they are actually in those dockets. And one would argue, even these cabinet secretaries, they also have permanent secretaries, so many of them. And there was also the, like we have alluded in the beginning of this broadcast, the fact that the president wanted to introduce CSS position, who are like supposed to be the secretaries to the cabinet secretaries, and we wonder what is the function of a PS. So there is a lot of bloated cabinet, and we were doing a comparison with the US, and the US has a population of over 300 million, which has lesser cabinet secretaries as compared to Kenya, with around 50 plus millions by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics. But I want us to shift gears and now look at the end game of this administration, and the pressure is filing. And the young generation have really put the president on the spot to the extent that he's admitting you're giving difficult choices. The way it is going, it seems like the president has to sacrifice some of his friends in the name of responding to the concerns raised by the young people. And that means the political game will shift. Do you think the president is prepared to sacrifice some of his friends to continue the discussion?
I do believe that the president is not ready, and he will never be ready to sacrifice some of these people in order to, you know, have that understanding with the youth. As I told you, this is politics, and we all know politics. The president allied himself with influential people.
Yeah.
You can see the CSs, they are influential people, and he needed that influence to gather the mass for him to get voted. So he promised them that, yes, if I get this seat, I'm going to have a docket for you. That's why we are having a lot of dockets introduced within this government. We have so many dockets that are being introduced. These are what we can call his political allies and his political power shifts, where he needs them in order to attain more votes for the next general election. Now, he didn't know that by creating all of these dockets, it will be siphoning a lot of money.
Correct.
And now it has actually put him on the spot. And I believe His Excellency, as you said, he said that we are giving him difficult choices. As a leader, you should always know that most of the choices you'll make, they have to be difficult. They need to be difficult in order for the betterment of your country, for the betterment of Mwananchi, and also for the benefit of himself. So I believe that these dockets should be cut down completely, cabinets reshuffled, and then everything that the youth have demanded should be put in place. Okay. Because if you check, nothing that the youth has said is actually incompetent. Everything is spot on, everything is right.
It's within the constitution.
It's within the constitution. Actually, that's what is bugging him the most. The youth know the constitution more than he thought that the youth knew. So everything the youth are saying is very much correct and needs to be put forward in order for Kenya to become a better country.
Correct. And as we finish this discussion, so if you are in president's shoes, what do you think you will do? What must the president do to put back the hustler narrative, bottom-up approach narrative? Because the deputy president in Mombasa, during a press conference, said, we were the darling of the people. And he doesn't understand how people have turned against them, to the extent of some of the people beating some of the members of parliament in public. What do you think must be done?
I believe the president should cut taxes. He put I think an 18% VAT on petroleum and everything, and that is something that is being 16%, and that is something that is being used on a daily. Something that's being used daily. Petroleum, you know, everyone is daily. It's being used. I believe he should cut some of these taxes that he has imposed, bring them down to a percentage where the government can collect enough tax for development. I'm not saying that he should completely cut it, but lower it in a significant way whereby Mwananchi is also not really beat down by it, but yet still the government is earning enough for it to develop, for the country to develop. I also believe these dockets need to be cut down. The president actually needs to just cut these dockets down, reshuffle the whole cabinet, and put people who have set their mind on helping Kenya. The president has always been on the forefront to say he is fighting corruption. He needs to start by reshuffling these cabinets, cutting down some dockets, and bringing to justice like right now, the police and everything, the brutality, the corrupt CS, of which we know the stories, they need to be brought forth to justice. That's when we'll say, okay, Your Excellency, now you've started doing this work. But we have corrupt CSs in the government. We have very much corrupt people in the government, but they're still there. They're still earning the money. We know their stories. We know everything. And he needs first to start looking at that. Cut even the expenditure. We all know about his 200 million jet tag and everything. We all know that. And as much as he said 10 million, the calculations were done and put forth on the TV. They need to cut this expenditure. The government expenditure is just too much. And they are living a very lavish life on the cost of Mwananchi's pay.
Right. And as we finish the discussion, the future of this Gen Z, and we have seen Nairobi Senator the Honorable Edwin Sifuna saying that we also need to be led by Gen Z. The next general election, as per the Kenyan Constitution, will be on 2027. And going by what the young people have said they can even make their own president. They can vote in their own members of parliament. Will the coin shift towards the young people, or do you project a situation whereby they will use their money and, you know, try to hypnotize and influence the young people to vote on their side, or the young people will now see once beaten, twice shy?
I believe the coin will change, and I believe the youth in 2027 will be at the forefront of this. And the youth will have their own presidential candidate who they will need to bring forth, who they will elect. And the youth right now have a very long list of the people that they need in power. And the coin will now shift, because these members of parliament, the CASs, they showed a lot of incompetence to the point where they would even disregard the respect they had for these people. They'd call them names, they'd talk bad and everything. So we cannot put these people again into power. As much as they want to use money and influence, of which at the moment you've seen nothing that nothing has been done by this money and the influence that they're trying to gather. They're not coming to church, as you've seen.
Yeah.
Yesterday on the news,
yes,
there were no MPs, you know, doing their whole hula baloo in churches and everything. This should show you that the youth have the power. And during the 2027 general elections, we will be at the forefront. You know, we always let me say, the old generation go to vote because we thought they know better. And what did they know better? They used to choose people out of ethnical backgrounds, out of political affiliations, but we are neither politically affiliated or we don't check out the ethnical background of these aspirants. We need someone who uses his brain well. We need someone who can engage his gumptions and engage his faculties well to lead Kenya to that place that Kenya has to be and needs to be. So I believe on the 2027 general elections, things will not be the same as they had been. A lot of people are going to lose their seats, not because we wanted them to lose those seats, but they brought this upon themselves. They really brought this upon themselves. So I believe during the 2027 general elections, the youth will be at the forefront and there will be so many youths to elect. I believe that.
There will be so many youths to elect. What an ending point. Thank you so much, Donald Wanyoike, for making time to speak to this particular channel. And I hope that our discussions will make sense and will continue helping the people in our authorities to make the right decision, really, to push this country forward. As they have always told us, we only have one country, and this country is for us to make sure that it succeeds, and we have to do whatever it takes to make sure that the country succeeds. And the young people have, actually the so-called Gen Z, they have 14 days of focus. They are calling it a luta continua. And they are saying that they are tribalist, leaderless, and partless. And they are going to make sure that their voice is heard on the political space. Thank you so much for making time to talk to us. And I also thank our online viewers for making this discussion happen. Of course, we will keep on bringing to you these stories of what has transpired in the country within and without the political space, but most specifically on the issues transpiring in the Republic of Kenya, where the young people have taken the center stage to air their views in regards to the ongoing Gen Z protest. We saw that over the weekend, where people were assembled at Uhuru Park to commemorate the comrades who have lost their, who have met their timely death, and to celebrate the fallen heroes. And they are saying that their death will never be and will never go in vain. And of course, on Sunday we saw various churches, Holy Family Basilica, people chanting Ruto must go, as well as holding the Kenya national flag in solidarity with the people who have lost their lives. And we are waiting to hear from His Excellency the President, who has assured the country that he will do whatever it takes to make sure that the voices of the young people are heard, and of course to attempt to some of the grievances, like reshuffling the cabinet and making sure that progressive policy makers are in constitutional orders of office. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Peter Mwema. Bye bye, and let me know your comments in the comment section. See you on the next one.